Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of Blockchain and Beyond, and as always, I'm your host Farzan. On today's episode, we'll be discussing Algorand. So Algorand is a cryptocurrency, which is one of my personal favorites. So in this episode, I'm gonna go over the background of the project, the team behind it, how it functions, how it varies to other projects, so other cryptocurrencies, which may or may not do the same thing. And finally, I'll give a bit of my own opinion on the entire project. So to start things off, Algorand is a cryptocurrency which natively operates on the Algorand blockchain. It implements a pure proof of stake consensus algorithm, and it has a capped supply at 10 billion Algorand, with 6 billion of those currently in circulation. Algorand also currently implements a fixed fee per transaction and also governance systems which anyone holding Algorand can partake in. And each of those things we'll discuss in a bit more detail shortly. But there's also a bit more I should mention before I continue. So as part of Algorand, there are two different entities which I'll be discussing. These are Algorand and the Algorand Foundation. Algorand focuses on research to improve the technology and also enabling enterprise adoption, whereas the Algorand Foundation is the non-profit community organization which focuses more on the governance, tokenomics, and open source development. And both of these companies were founded by Silvio Misali. So about Silvio Misali, he's a member of MIT's computer science department, and he's also the holder of quite a number of prestigious accolades, including the Turing Award for Computer Science, the Gödel Prize for Theoretical Computer Science, and the RSA Prize in Cryptography. So he has, a well-rounded understanding of zero-knowledge proofs, secure protocols, and also blockchains. And you can see this all come together really well in one of his papers titled Algorand, the Efficient and Democratic Ledger, and also Algorand, a Secure and Efficient Distributed Ledger, both of which build the foundation of the Algorand blockchain and cryptocurrency. Alongside him, we also have Steve Kokinos, who is the CEO of Algorand. Steve was also the co-founder of Fuse, which is a cloud-based communication platform for enterprise. And he was also the founder of a company called Blade Logic, which worked with Fortune 500 companies to help their data center automation projects. And at Algorand, he is responsible for the corporate vision and also corporate strategy. And the last one that I'll be mentioning is Sean Ford. He is the Chief Operating Officer, and he oversees the market execution of Algorand and also oversees operations such as project management, marketing, and global community development. Previously, he was the Chief Marketing Officer for LogMeIn, where he was responsible for e-commerce, brand leadership, and demand generation. So one of my favorite things about this team is that all of them have quite vast experience in their respective fields. In particular, Silvio Misali gives me quite a lot of confidence. So knowing he has, quite a lot of accolades, which you can also see in his paper when you read them, it gives you quite a lot of confidence knowing that this project is what seems to be in really good hands. Now we can kind of discuss how the technology behind Algorand actually works. So first off, we know that Algorand operates on its own blockchain, and within it, it runs its own consensus protocol called Pure Proof of Stake. This isn't one that we've discussed before, but this basically extends on Proof of Stake consensus protocol, which is a protocol where your chance of being chosen to validate a transaction is based on the amount of tokens you are staking, and your reward is generally in the form of transaction fees or gas fees paid by the other network users. And proof of stake is seen quite often in Binance Smart Chain, Polkadot, Polygon, and other cryptocurrencies. So what Algorand does to make itself stand out is to initially lower the barrier of entry for staking. On some projects, there is a minimum stake required to become a validator of transactions. In the case of Algorand, the minimum stake currently is 1 algo, which has an approximate value of $1.67 or £1.26 as of the time of recording, which is December the 8th. This means that practically any wallet can be eligible for staking and participation rewards with very little investment. Another thing that I really like about this project is that Algorand has innovated on the protocol from a security point of view. Traditionally, there is a public list of validators for a given network, whether this is Binance Smart Chain or Polkadot or any other project. This creates an attack vector for malicious users who are looking to disrupt the network. And although it may sound difficult, this information can enable attackers to identify the host and try to disrupt their services. If a validator was to go down, there may be financial loss through slashing, which is a punishment for not operating correctly, but there could also be a slowdown of the network. However, Algorand currently has it so that any wallet connected to the internet can be a validator. But the twist here is that they do not need to publicly advertise their intent at all. So anyone can stake anonymously without having to let anyone else know. So the protocol will silently choose a number of validators who will propose blocks proportional to their stake. So again, if I was staking 1% of all Algorand, I would have a 1% chance of being chosen to propose the next block of data. And because of the really low 1 Algorand staking criteria, the distribution of validating nodes becomes a key function of the decentralization of the network. And this is again in contrast to projects such as Binance Smart Chain, where there's only a fixed number of validators at any given time and operates on a delegated proof of stake protocol. The next improvement that Algorand has made over most other projects is the speed of finality. So finality refers to when you can be confident that a transaction has been accepted by the blockchain and also the rest of the network. So on Bitcoin works on a probabilistic finality. So what this means is after approximately 6 blocks of data, you can presume that your information or your transaction is accepted by the entire network. And 10 blocks is roughly around an hour of time. So we can say that Bitcoin's finality is 1 hour. On Ethereum, finality again can range from 1 to 3 minutes depending on the current network speed, which is, a lot faster than Bitcoin. As it's only a few minutes, so we already see an improvement there. However, Algorand's finality time is 5 seconds, which means for any given transaction, it will be confirmed onto the blockchain and accepted by the network within 5 seconds. And Algorand also claimed that the transactions per second that it can handle is up to 46,000. And this dwarfs many other projects in terms of not only finality but also transactions per second, which is another key metric people use to evaluate different blockchains. Regarding the tokenomics of Algorand, as mentioned before, Algorand has a fixed supply of 10 billion Algorand and 6.6 billion are already in circulation, and by the year 2030 all Algorand will be in circulation. When Algorand first launched, they retained 6.2 billion Algorand for community incentives. This includes for staking rewards and also rewards for the early backers of the project. 1.25 billion Algorand was reserved for ecosystem support, which includes the Innovation Fund, Research and Development Fund, and also Capital Market Innovations, which refers to identifying new ways to work with corporate and enterprise companies. Finally, 2.5 billion Algorand was reserved for Algorand, Algorand Foundation, and the initial injection into the market. And there's quite transparent details about these on the Algorand Foundation website. And as of October 2021, Algorand Foundation have also launched their governance program. So what this means is anyone who holds Algorand is able to commit their Algorand as votes, and these votes will be based on any changes to the network, whether this may be to the block size or how staking rewards are distributed. Anyone who holds Algorand can vote either in favor or against these changes, whilst also receiving participation awards. And for a lot of people, governance is what kind of sells a project. Being able to partake and have a say in the network and how it changes over time is a key thing that people look for in these sorts of projects. And not only that, there are quite a number of projects which are being developed in Algorand's ecosystem. So for decentralized finance protocols, we have a few. So some of them are Yieldly and Tinyman, both of which are currently live and usable. There's also Folks Finance and AlgoFi, both of which will hopefully be coming out soon. We also have Smilecoin, which is working on decentralized gaming activity. Opulus, which focuses on the music industry to reduce financial barriers for artists. There's also a really interesting project called Lofty.ai, which is focusing on tokenizing real estate, allowing you to purchase tokens in houses from $50, and which they claim enables you access to growth and also rental income. And all of these projects are super new, and their teams, from what I've looked into, are super great. And I'll probably be making some episodes focusing on some of these projects in particular, but that'll be for some time in the future. So that covers most of the points I wanted to discuss about Algorand as an entire project. So now for my personal opinion, I think it's an extremely strong project from both a top-down view, so in terms of the team who's working on it, but also the technology. And it's currently sitting at number 20 in terms of market cap. This is taken from CoinMarketCap website. So yeah, as mentioned, they have a strong accredited team, which I really found stood out in the unique nuances of the protocol, which heavily innovates on commonly seen protocols. And the other thing which makes the protocol shine is the low fees and the speed of finality, which makes it not only easy to use, but also super convenient. Your transaction will be completed right in front of you, so you can, carry on using the protocol as you would, rather than perhaps having to wait a few minutes for your transaction to be verified. And this is also in contrast to blockchains like Ethereum or Binance Smart Chain, where the gas prices fluctuate up and down, which means sometimes you lose out and sometimes you win, whereas with Algorand you always get exactly what's being shown. And Algorand just makes it super easy to interact with not only the blockchain but also the applications building on them. On the other hand, compared to projects like Ethereum, or I should say ecosystems like Ethereum, Algorand is still relatively new in terms of the projects which are available, but the projects which are in development are coming out quite fast, and the projects themselves are really great, and there's a lot of detail which is going into them to ensure that it's a super smooth user experience. And one final, I guess, almost macro point of view, Algorand has a lot going on behind the scenes. So, for example, they've signed an agreement with El Salvador, or Koi Banks, which is a blockchain as a service provider, has signed an agreement with El Salvador to build a blockchain infrastructure for the El Salvadorian government using Algorand. So Algorand will be the underlying technology of El Salvador's blockchain infrastructure. And this is really interesting as many countries look at developing central bank digital currencies or moving towards more digital. This could potentially pave the way for a lot of Algorand's uptake, especially if the implementation with El Salvador goes really well. It can almost set the standard of what's expected from these blockchain infrastructure projects. And I think that's all from me. So yeah, it's been great discussing one of my favorite projects, and I encourage anyone who's interested to look into it. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to me. It'll be good to hear from you. But until then, yeah, goodbye.